hindsight was, oh, I learned a lot about processes through chemistry and how to problem solve and then improve. And then in my current role where I was creating sales processes for the leads that would come in to try and sell them, it was really beneficial in trying to create more efficient processes for people.
Hello and welcome to the Dumb It Down podcast. I'm your host, Eric Larson, and we're here to break down what really matters in school and work. I am here with James Craven, another longtime friend of mine, and pleased to introduce James to the podcast. James, how are we doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Eric. I know you've had a few other friends on here, and I was waiting for my turn. I got to say, I was a little excited. I was like, is he going to call me? Am I podcast worthy? We'll see.
Yeah, definitely the voice. You know, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can tell that James, no smiles, no fun, no energy. So just kidding. But yeah, James has been helping me in the background for a little while. He's got some of his own side projects going on. So very much appreciate him, holding the candle to the fire and getting me to actually release this. So
accountability partners are important, Eric. I got you. Don't worry.
This is true. And James is right down the street from me in Charlotte. So there's even been some in-person accountability over lunch and beers occasionally. So James, I know you grew up here. A little bit about yourself and your background and perhaps how we met.
Yeah, so born and raised in Charlotte, grew up in the same neighborhood as Eric. And so that's how we know each other. Ended up going to the same high school, but really where our connection started was the neighborhood clubhouse, swim team, tennis, and that starts with some of the early stories for us right there, just playing in the neighborhood with some friends.
Yeah, since probably 6 years old or something. It's been a long time. I used to walk down the street, hang out with James and his brother and his family and some of our other friends. One story in particular, I don't know if you remember, James. We had a tennis match back in the day, 1v1.
Do I remember winning a tennis match? Is that what you said?
The result eludes me. It just seemed like a good time.
All I remember is friendly competition, right?
We had a match front and center in our neighborhood. This is back when I was just good at tennis based on being semi-athletic as an 8-year-old before any sort of skill was required. Maybe James is in the same boat. We've been battling a long time in frisbee and volleyball, but it's all in good fun. So we had a front court match back and forth. If I remember correctly, I think I went on to lose that match and win the consolation side, but James definitely had my number that time.
Well, he won the crowd's hearts, that's for sure. Yeah, he won the crowd. I won the match, so.
Yeah. That was fun. So yes, many fun battles over the years. But yes, our paths and being friends and going to high school and, still talking now about school and work. But we'll start with you back in high school. So take me back. James was a year younger than me, so I guess I knew I was going into engineering, and James took a separate path. So tell me about your mind state kind of as a senior, what you decided to do.
Coming out of high school, all I knew is I had to go to college, right? I didn't know what I wanted to study, trying to figure out the path, but my older sister studied chemistry. She enjoyed it, so I figured that might be a good place to start. I always enjoyed the sciences, whether it was chemistry, biology, environmental science. It didn't really matter, but I figured chemistry was a good path to go down. My father's a doctor, really loves what he does, enjoys helping people, so I figured that might be a good path towards med school, and so that's where I began going into college, was the chemistry route.
Okay, yeah, I remember I had a high school chemistry teacher I really liked. I think you did as well. You took him too, right? Mr. Standish, I'll just shout him out. He was the best.
I didn't have him, but I heard he was pretty good.
Yeah, you had someone else. I couldn't remember. But yeah, I think Myers Park had some really good science teachers, so that probably helped steer us in that direction. But as you said, Dr. Craven, your dad, great guy, always, helping people and around and happy and energetic, kind of like yourself. So that seems like a good model for you to follow. So went ahead and applied to schools for chemistry specifically. I know you stayed in the area. Was there a big decision there?
No, it wasn't. My mindset wasn't in the major or the school. My mindset was is this a good school where I could see myself growing, where there's plenty of opportunity? So I applied to a couple schools in North Carolina, didn't look out of state, and then wound up going to UNCC, which is where my older brother was going at the time. And the growth that he had coming out of high school into college, and I was super impressed and figured that might be a great place for me to get grounded and then continue to grow. So that's what I was thinking going in, and applied to Charlotte, got in, and then that's where I started my chemistry career.
Cool. Yeah, that's. I remember visiting once or twice. It was fun to have Baxter there too.
I don't.
No, we had. We found ways to have fun because I'd come back and visit over breaks, and I could go right up the road to a school. Not all bad.
Yeah, it was fun.
So next, taking chemistry classes, probably semi enjoying them, getting through college, decent grades. Senior year. Well, you know what? Take me through the process. I know you didn't end up necessarily with a chemistry role. What were some of the roles in your path in college as you tried to figure out what you wanted to do after?
Yeah, so basically just focus on school for the first 2 years, and then the questions start popping into your head. What am I going to do when I get out? I've got 2, maybe 3 years, depending on what track you decide to do. And the only way to really find out is to get experience. And so at the time I was thinking, all right, I'm a freshman in college, I'm aiming towards med school. And then halfway through school, I was thinking med school is probably not the best fit. I don't really see a good work-life balance within that career. And so then I started to pivot towards sales. Love people, love helping them, and so sales was just a natural fit for me. And so while I was in school getting my chemistry degree, I started trying out different sales jobs. And so as I went through school, pivoted from one job to the next until I ended up in my current career, which is insurance. And I can take you through that if you want to know a little
Yeah,
more about
talk
it.
a little bit about some of those jobs because they're funny and good learning experiences.
So LinkedIn, I created my first profile my sophomore year of college as I started applying for some of these roles, and the first one on there popped in as Apex Consulting Solutions, and it seemed like a great opportunity to get into sales, get my feet wet. And so I show up for the job interview, and it's at their office, and I'm super impressed. And they say, we want to take you out to one of our locations so you can see what we do in a day-to-day. And long story short, the job ended up being a situation where we would go into Walmarts and BJ's. We'd set up a table and we would sell direct TV to the people walking by. And it's not the most glamorous job in the world, but it makes you get yourself out in front of people and realize life's not too serious and that you can laugh at yourself. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to help, and you can't help everybody. But rejection hits pretty hard in sales, and that's a great place to learn it.
So they hit you with come out to one of our branch locations, which happened to be a Walmart. I'm sure that was a little bit shocking.
I didn't know what was going on, honestly, but I couldn't be picky. I didn't have any sales experience, so I took the job for sure. And it ended up being a great group of people and a wonderful opportunity to get into sales too.
So kind of when you decided to get into sales, I mean, how did you know what sales was as a junior? Or did you just hear from other people?
I didn't really know. I just knew there was a product and you try and sell it, or it was more of like a consulting role. I didn't really know what sales was, to be honest. I just knew it involved talking to people, and I can do that. So why not give it a shot?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's funny. I remember talking to you that summer and hearing about things. And I think we tried to go visit you during work, but didn't actually pull it off.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, good times. So that, you had a little bit experience under your belt, and, you got attracted to this job posting that sounded really good, but maybe wasn't as glamorous. The good news is that you could probably write it up pretty good for your next job on your current resume. So that led you to another gig. Just a little bit about that one.
Right. So it allowed me to get my foot in the door, put sales experience on my resume, grow within that other company, at least enough to where I could pitch it to the next company that I was going in for a job interview. And so that company ended up being Red Ventures. And so I ended up working there full time while I was finishing up my degree at Charlotte. And basically, Red Ventures is a company that sells several services that generate residual income or renewal income. So TV, energy for the deregulated states, phone, insurance, and so I ended up getting into their insurance department. And so uh, basically, I jumped into their sales training program over at Red Ventures, got licensed to sell insurance, and then worked for Red Ventures selling their insurance products for personal lines, which is like home and auto insurance and some of the other needs there as well.
So you just got Red Ventures sells a whole bunch of things. They just have this model of sales that applies to anything that's kind of an ongoing service. You applied and got plugged into insurance, and then they paid and encouraged you to get that certification?
Yeah, they paid for everything for me to get licensed on the insurance side so I could sell that product. And it ended up being a really good fit for me just from a sales perspective to grow within sales and then learn a lot about different types of sales roles. Because the first one that I had was you go out to these different locations and you're trying to sell these products to people. But then the Red Ventures business model was you go into their location, you sit in an office, and then you're making phone calls or answering the phone all day trying to sell this product. You're in the same place, and it's very, very tech driven. So they micromanage your time. They track all of your phone calls. They track how long the phone calls last. They track the time after the phone calls. I mean, they are very, very efficient with the way they run their business and their sales operations, and it's a very good experience early on, but it's tough to last in a role like that for a very long time.
Yeah, so like a call center, right? Which again isn't the most glamorous role, but I did some time in a call center, and you figure some things out. You figure out how to talk to people. You figure out how to get rejected. I think those are important when you're in a sales role, whether technical or non-technical or insurance or whatever it is. I mean, every sales job needs expertise these days. So. Cool. So yeah, another stepping stone for you. That this time you're still doing chemistry classes. Maybe you're approaching being a senior. Were you kind of disillusioned with chemistry? Like, were you like, why am I doing this when I figure out something else I wanted to do? Or what did senior year look like?
No, I think it's important to have a college degree, and then chemistry just shows employers that one, you're smart enough to learn, and then I think the benefits of learning your way through chemistry is important too, because it teaches you a lot about processes, and I think that's something that's been really beneficial in my current career. So I did want to finish up that degree at UNCC and continue the sales path.
What's the piece you just said about processes that's been helpful?
So in my current role, I'm a producer for an insurance company, and I can get into that a little bit more if you want, but basically in chemistry everything's very process oriented, where you create a process and the same thing is just replicated over time, and so that mindset of being able to replicate processes is really beneficial in business as well.
Okay, yeah, that's
so learning how to learn and then
right,
and then improve those processes over time.
Yeah. No, learning how to learn, improving processes like engineering, the bottom line is problem solving. I mean, I think it's all along the same lines, and even if it's a little, outdated, the way we're educated as it relates to specific practical job application, there's still some merit in understanding a process. So no, thanks for explaining that. I totally agree. But yes, you let me interject, but I will allow you to talk about the current job now. So yeah, you graduated with the job that you have today, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, and talk a little bit about what you're doing today and how you got into that.
Yeah, so pretty close with the transition. So as I was finishing up my degree at UNCC, I ended up taking on a job at ECM Solutions, which is a local independent insurance agency in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was brought on as a personal lines producer for the company. All that means is I sell home and auto insurance and other personal lines needs like jewelry coverage, umbrella insurance, life insurance. But the goal there is just to help people with their individual insurance needs.
That's okay. So I'll recap. I mean, I didn't know what insurance was, until I was having to buy it myself.
I didn't either until I studied at Red Ventures, to be honest with you. Nobody really knows what it is until they have to get it for themselves.
So, right. So you focus on personal lines. You're helping people to have a policy so that if something bad happens, they're covered by this large company that covers lots of people.
It helps to minimize your risk, right? So if you've got a house and the home burns down, you don't want to be on the hook for the whole house. So you basically pay a little bit towards an insurance company, and then they're the ones responsible for the house at that point.
Right, right. Thanks. And there's some inner workings of like insurance broker versus agency, which I don't think we need to get into here. But generally speaking, as someone who liked science, went into chemistry, and found themselves in insurance, was it just, luck of the draw through that program, or what about insurance kind of resonated with you and made you not think it was super boring?
Well, I don't know. I think it was just following where the opportunities were within sales and then realizing that what I had learned throughout school was super beneficial to my current role. Does that make sense? Like hindsight was, oh, I learned a lot about processes through chemistry and how to problem solve and then improve. And then in my current role, where I was creating sales processes for the leads that would come in to try and sell them, it was really beneficial in trying to create more efficient processes for people so that they
Yeah.
could understand how to go from A to B within the sales process.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And kind of with the benefit of hindsight, you can say, oh, this all makes sense. But of course, when you're in it, and
Right.
Vlad kind of spoke to this in a previous episode, but it's like, yeah, when you look now, it's like, this all makes perfect sense. Obviously, I studied chemistry to learn processes to get me an interest.
Of
But
course, I knew what I was doing through all this.
But when you're going through it, you were basically like, okay, I need to pivot a little bit. Let's try sales. And this random sales internship, they put me in insurance. And then you're just kind of using what you have to get that next job. And correct me if I'm
Right.
wrong, but when you went into that first job, you were looking for something that was, kind of a good entry level position, probably a decent amount of salary versus commission, and kind of with the ability to grow into a stable money earning producing position. So when you graduated school and took the job, did you see what you're doing now as like kind of in the future, or did you learn that as you went along, or like how did that look?
It was very long term thinking. I mean, when you look at some of these insurance professionals and you see the life that they live in their 40s and 50s and 60s, it's very relaxed. They make a good bit of money. They're happy with their work life balance. And I mean, that's what I'm looking for as I get older. But I'm willing to work hard when I'm younger. And I know that they put their time in when they were young. And then once they got that momentum going within their career, they just maintained it over time. And so early success within insurance doesn't really happen, right? You can get some momentum, but you're not going to hit your peak within the first 5 years. It's something that scales over time as you continue to put effort in. And so that's something that I was just looking forward to about the industry itself, right? Just consistency and being able to grow.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You said work-life balance was kind of something that struck you back as a sophomore, and that's what you're looking for when you came out of school. Saw this as a blueprint, and it made sense. I think that's important. I think a lot of people come out of school with, one direction is I've got all this time to work hard. I want to leave my mark, and I'm excited coming out of school. I've got all this knowledge. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, I'm 22. I want a good work-life balance. I'm young. I want to have fun. So, yeah. And then, of course, James is talking about balance. And here I am with all the time in the world. And James is juggling a wife and a kid. So different priorities for everyone.
Right, but it's nice to have the flexibility that goes along with that work-life balance to choose what you want to do, right? Everybody's needs are different.
This is true. And yeah, figuring out what you wanted early was important to you and seems to have put you in a good position now. So, yeah. I've got a couple questions for you. Is there anything else you kind of want to add before we dig into those?
I think if you're fresh out of school and you're looking for the best opportunity, go to a company where you're going to learn the most. Don't go to the company that's going to pay you the most. There's plenty of time to make more money, but I think the more that you can learn early on in your career, the more it's going to benefit you long term.
So how would you know that when you're trying to decide between two positions? Would you say it's more beneficial to go with a big company because you'll learn more there, or what's like the criteria?
I think if you're looking for a role that gives you more responsibility, then you'll learn the most that way. Does that make sense? If you're taking on more responsibility, then you're going to learn the most in that role. And so the role that I'm in now was the role that I took coming out of school. and I took on a lot more responsibility than I had ever had in a sales career. I was responsible for going out there and getting my own leads, building these relationships, having them refer business in, and then me working with their clients to help fill their insurance needs. But before working at Red Ventures, it was these inbound calls and leads coming in. I wasn't having to facilitate any of that business, so I didn't really have or take on any real responsibility. So I learned a lot about a big company, but I didn't really grow because I didn't have that additional responsibility that came within the roles. Does that make sense?
That was super helpful. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I've felt similar ways at a couple different points, because with a big company, you get some exposure, but you're kind of a cog in the machine, and you're learning from the people around you. When you're with a smaller company, I think you see more.
Now I am the machine, Eric. I am the machine.
There you go. With a smaller company, I feel like I'm definitely exposed to more. It's a balance. It's good to see both. It's good to explore your options coming out of school. And yeah, I actually took the slightly less paying job just by a little bit.
Your work-life balance is great, man.
Well, yeah, I haven't been concerned about that. But yeah, okay, cool. Well, thanks for breaking that down. So now I'm going to ask a couple questions that I had sent over for you. What has been your biggest screw up so far?
Being a little shy when I first started to put myself out there and create a process and let people know that I could help. So I'm talking specifically within my career now. The goal is to get out there and meet people and let them know that you can help with personal insurance needs. So if somebody's buying a house, they need homeowners insurance, and I can sell homeowners insurance. If your clients need help, I'm happy to be there for them. But early on, it was like, hey, what do I do? This is weird. Should I even be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Don't think, just get out there and act. Just try and put yourself out there and let people know that you can help, because it's not your problem. You're just trying to help solve it.
I like that. Yeah, I think that there's a balance between, wanting to kind of soak some things in before speaking up when you first come out of school. And I think most people looking back would say, speak up, ask questions, because, that can be helpful a lot too, to people who maybe have heard things over and over, do things a certain way, and could shake it up. So yeah, no, I like that.
Think through some things, but at the end of the day, until you act, you're not going to learn. Until you test some things out and actually take action, you're not going to learn. And so I think that's a big piece of it early on. It's just get out there and start moving.
And even in school, the theoretical versus the actual, learning about everything versus doing a senior design project. I think there's a lot of value in being hands-on, being forced to do things, being forced to teach things. So
yeah,
cool.
I would agree.
Second one. So tell me something you are excited about.
Within what? Personally, professionally?
Or professional. Just something exciting. Something to get you fired up.
We'll go professional. Since I started, my book has continued to grow year over year more than it had the prior year.
Your book is your total sales.
Right, exactly. So what I sell year one was less than what I sold year two, was less than what I sold year three, and so on going through. So I've continued to scale and accelerate over time, which is exactly what you're looking for in a sales role where you're responsible for growing a business. So I've been really excited about that and hitting some pretty good numbers this year.
A nice, slow, steady climb. Well, I know that you've got some exciting personal news, so I'll put you on the spot too if you're willing to share.
Yeah, my wife and I are pregnant with baby number 2, so work-life balance is more important than ever now. Yeah, due in May. I know, and it's a boy, so now I can have my boy out there beating down other kids in tennis.
Nice. Yeah, I'll just you just got to wait on the third one so that we can have them be friends and rivals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I got to get on that. My mom, if she listens to this, would definitely agree. Moving on.
Next question.
So next one, do you have a mentor? And if so, it doesn't have to be one person. It could be just, a group of people perhaps you look up to. What are they doing that you're currently not?
It's probably the partners at ECM. And it's really the way that they focus on their business, right? They find a niche and then they target that one specific thing. And so they become the experts within that area. And I think that's a really good way to grow a business. And then also integrate yourself within those networks that revolve around those specific industries or whatever you're focusing on.
Okay. I like that. Next, I think we're kind of wrapping up, but is there anything you want to promote? Are you open to being a mentor for others who are interested in perhaps insurance, perhaps other things?
Sure, reach out to me. Yeah, absolutely. If people have questions or interested in sales roles tied into insurance or just the career path in general, reach out to me. If you need help with your personal insurance, don't hesitate to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to help. Is that the plug you were looking for?
There's the plug. Hey, you can plug whatever you want.
Like, subscribe.
There you go.
Thanks.
Cool.